CNG Media.
Welcome to Vino with Vito and Dave Taramina. Today's special guest is Eric Estevez. I hope I pronounced that right. I think Estevez.
Yes,
Estevez. I pronounced it right.
What's up, Eric?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Eric is part of NARIP. And if you can explain what NARIP is to us, I think you're the president of a chapter of NARIP.
Wait. Hold on.
Right?
Time out.
Am I right or wrong? I have no idea.
He brought a bottle of wine.
I'm going to get to that.
Oh,
I was
gonna
going to
say.
let him talk first because I didn't want to put you on the spot because you never bring a bottle of wine. So I was going to let you slide. But since you brought that up, since Dave never brings wine, at least Eric bought a bottle of wine. And if you noticed, he bought a Francis Coppola wine.
Yes.
Okay? He bought it's from California, but Francis Coppola's Italian.
That's right.
See?
An Italian.
An Italian wine.
Italian,
And
yes.
this is, Eric, this is a great bottle of wine.
Yes,
I want
it
to
is.
thank you. And Dave, you might want to learn from Eric. You know, next time,
I'll tell you what, though. I did Eric, last show we did, if I brought a bottle of wine, what was the deal? If I brought a bottle of wine,
we would get you a
Robert Graham shirt. And
there you go.
there we go. The Bulldog.
Nice.
Look at the bulldog.
Robert. I got to tell you,
What?
the shirt breathes. It's very comfortable.
It's very comfortable. I told you.
You know what? And it's pre-shrunk, so you could I've already washed it. Good to go. So yeah.
What do you think of my shirt?
Eric, what do you think of that shirt?
I wear it.
You would?
100%.
Absolutely,
I
right?
open up another button though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have to test. It's a show. But this one actually is a Robert Graham limited edition. And it's actually number 13 out of 684.
Wow.
And 13 in Italian is a lucky number. So
there you
that's
go.
perfect. I didn't ask for 13. I ended up getting it, which I'm very, very happy about.
Oh, look at that.
So-
Well, while he's opening up the wine, I'll kind of throw it over to you, Eric. And thanks again, salute. Thanks again for coming on. And why don't you start? I know we have a lot to cover with you. We have a super interesting guy today, Vito. So just so you know,
I can't wait.
Yeah.
why don't you start for the audience? Just tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do for a living? That kind of thing.
Awesome. Well, Dave and Vito, thanks for having me. And I just, before I start introduce myself, so I was walking down the aisle and I saw the Ford Coppola wine, and I was just telling you that I was listening about his story, about his new movie that's coming out, that he's investing $120 million of his own money in. And I'm a big movie buff too, so I just felt like I saw it and I had to buy it. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
Oh, definitely.
No, it's a great wine.
Awesome. Well, my name is
thank
Eric Estevez, and my trade is I'm in the mortgage industry, so I'm a branch manager.
For what company?
For Nations Lending.
Okay.
I kind of grew. My father's been doing this for a long time, so I kind of transitioned. Thank you. About 7 years ago, but I am the president of NARIP, North Jersey. And NARIP, what it stands for is the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. We're the largest Latino trade organization in the country. We have about 40,000 members, about 100 chapters, and we really advocate for Hispanic home ownership. Right, and we do that by educating and empowering the real estate professionals within our communities. And I'm happy to say that as last year's vice president, we actually won the 2023 chapter of the year nationally. So so we have a pretty big chapter here, which Dave, you've been amazing.
Thank you.
And our advisory board, you've been a great addition.
Thank you.
We have about 400 members and counting. So we just want to continue to grow and educate people to help others buy their first home, especially in this market. We need that education, right?
Great.
Definitely.
So, let's try this. Salute.
Salute.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And there we go. My glass is good here.
That's good.
Wow, very nice.
Very nice. Maybe
very
one of the
nice.
top ones that about that,
Francis
Yeah,
Ford Coppola.
yeah, you don't bring it, but he does. But now, do you have to be Hispanic to join your group there?
Great question. I'm actually really, really glad that you started with that. And the answer is no, right? We had Maria Gesualdi, who's a past president and really helped the organization grow in North Jersey. She's Italian. Right, we had Dave was part of our advisory, is Italian.
Yeah.
And what happens is
Maria's an attorney in New Jersey.
In New Jersey, okay.
Real
Yeah,
real
she's
estate
a
attorney.
badass.
Yep.
She's our coach
She's
right
awesome.
now. But you know what it is? It's the Latinos, Hispanic community, they're the fastest growing demographic in homeownership, right? And that's something that NAREP, that's one of NAREP's babies, is that they released the State of Hispanic Homeownership Report in our Washington National Convention, which really impacts policy. And we were there a couple months ago, or a little over a month ago. And it's the fastest growing demographic. So in the end, if you're a realtor, if you're a mortgage lender, you don't have to be Hispanic to help Hispanic people. Right. So it's good to understand that we're the fastest growing demographic, and it's good to understand the needs of that community.
Yeah, no, that's great, because I've helped out a lot of Hispanics, home ownership, and no, it's great. Yeah. It's great. And Dave, I believe your mortgage company now, you can fill out the application in Spanish, correct?
Which is huge, and and obviously I'm not gonna. This is about Eric, not
right.
me, right?
No, but I'm just saying. But to help, like Eric's saying, to help the Hispanic community, and that's what they do is help the Hispanic.
Well, I think
community.
it's like important to remember too, right? Like, listen, we're all in the real estate business, right? Mortgage, real estate business, and just because like somebody like a Hispanic buyer, right? Wants to maybe deal with somebody who speaks Spanish or doesn't, whatever. It doesn't necessarily mean like the loan officer or the realtor has to be Hispanic to help them. Okay, like it definitely doesn't. I mean, it helps, right? Like if they're not comfortable with the language, but part of if you read that NAREP report and other reports that are out there, most of the Hispanic home buyers speak English. They're just right, and you could speak to this better than I could. Yeah. They're just comfortable dealing with somebody who speaks their native language, right? I mean, can you elaborate on that?
I think, and I want to just go back, right, to Dave, and I know we're talking about me, but it's about how can we service this community the best, and Guarantee Rate does a really nice job. They have some really funny commercials on Telemundo and Univision, really bust the gut laughing. But the fact is that someone like Dave, who may not speak Spanish, but has a platform to help these Hispanic home buyers, it's a great fit. Right. Myself, I may not need that because I speak the language. Right. So it just depends on how can I service this clientele that's going to continue to grow. Right. And the cool thing is, if you read the report, Dave, right, we have a younger. The Hispanic community are buying houses at a younger age, which means they were either born here, right? They were educated here, so they do speak Spanish. But the minute that there's an interface, the minute that you speak to someone and you send them a link to apply in Spanish, there's already a connection, because they say this person cares about my community, and the minute that a realtor that's not Spanish speaking, for example, connects them to me, who I speak the language, and we're speaking that language, it's a common bond, right? You in this business, right? We need that loyalty, that trust factor is huge. It's huge. Somebody's making the biggest purchase
of their life doing that. Now, would you mind if I get a Hispanic customer that only speaks Spanish? I'm going to give them your phone number now to talk to you.
As long as Dave's okay with it.
I'm okay with it.
And translate. And again, everybody, Eric's in the mortgage business. That's why I had to bring that out there.
Listen, we collaborate together. Eric and I work together with business, with outside of business. We work together with NAREP. So it's all about collaboration.
Collaboration. It's not competition. I think we all know our strengths and our weaknesses, and it's good to know other great people in the business, because I may be able to do something that he can, and vice versa. Right. And our job is just to help people. And I mean, in this industry, in this market today, right, we have to have every solution available, right? And sometimes we don't have all of that. So I call my buddy Dave.
And it's happened in the past. You remember, Dave, when I came to you, we had someone applying for a mortgage, and you flat out said, hey, I can't do it because of this, this, and this, but this other mortgage company can do it because they handle that. And everybody should help each other out. Even us as realtors, we try, to help each other out.
Yeah, it's about the value added, and I think that the more information we have as professionals, especially with this information with the Hispanic State of Homeownership Report, the more educated we are, the more value we'll be able to give to our clients. And I think we need that more than ever with the whole NAR settlement, right? There's a lot of big talk about that. We have to show our value to the people that we're servicing a lot more.
Well, and speaking of like the NAR settlement, right? And it's a topic that we haven't discussed on the show because we don't want to get sued. But like, but I will tell you, like, the one thing, like the way I read the settlement, right? And you can weigh on this is, there's no longer in New Jersey, there's no longer dual representation, right? Is that correct? Like,
There's always been dual representation.
Right.
And
but on the MLS, they can't pay out
They can't advertise
commission.
it.
They can't advertise the commission on the MLS.
Correct.
So a buyer's agent will
Will have to call.
We'll have to either buyer's agent will either have to get an signed agreement, a buyer's agreement with their buyer, and if they don't agree to it, if the customer, the home buyer, doesn't agree to it, then they're not going to be represented. They have to go directly to whoever, right, the listing agent, or not be represented,
or not be representative. Go ahead.
So my point, sorry, and my point of this, I want to get as president of a highly functioning NAREP chapter is like, and tell me if I'm wrong on this. The way I'm interpreting this is, let's say I'm Hispanic, right, and English is not my strong language, okay, and I'm a first-time home buyer, right? I'm young. I don't have the money to pay a buyer's agent, but I need a Hispanic realtor to represent me, to navigate me through the home inspection, through the appraisal, through negotiating, through lender credits, whatever the case is, right? Seller's credits, whatever the case is. What happens to that buyer in that situation? What's that buyer, that Hispanic buyer, who now maybe won't have Hispanic realtor representing them? What happens to that buyer?
I think that's a really good question, and before I answer, I think that this is why organizations like NAREP really should exist, because this is something that's bigger than us, and they have the strength to go out and get answers for us, right? I've already had a couple of Zoom calls so I can understand what this NAR settlement really is, right, and how it's going to impact us. And I think the position of NAREP is, right, we still don't know what are going to be. There's going to be some short-term and some long-term impacts, but it can be seen as a discriminatory practice, because if your first-time home buyer is Latino, now they have to come up with money to pay the buyer's agent, and we have to scrape along for down payment assistance, FHA loans, and whatnot.
Right.
However, right, I think just like anything, media is fear-mongering.
Yes.
Right.
A lot of misinformation.
A lot of misinformation. I think time would tell, and it's great that we are involved in NAREP, because I think we're gonna hear it first. Whenever we've talked to somebody at the settlement, right, and we have Zoom calls and whatnot, which is great, because we're always gonna know what's going on, and we'll be able to educate the members within our community.
Yep.
But here's the thing, right? I've talked to a lot of high-power listing agents that nothing changes for them, meaning that they're gonna tell they're gonna tell their sellers, hey, we're gonna create demand. I know we cannot put the commission that we're gonna pay in the MLS, but I think that you should pay 2%, 3%, because now what's gonna happen is you're gonna wind up creating that demand, right? And I think that most of the listing agents that I've talked to understand that.
Yep.
And it's really about I'm telling them how valuable a buyer's agent really is.
Yes.
And going to them and say, hey, listen, this is what the commission is, right? A seller might say, oh, we don't have to buy the buyer's agent anymore, and the listing agent says, well, you technically never had to agree
to it before.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just maybe they didn't know that. It's just you never had to agree, but this is how it worked, and this is how it's going to continue to work. If you wind up paying 2%, guess what? People are going to show your property.
Right.
Right? You're going to get a higher offer because you're creating demand. There's a law of mathematics.
Right.
Right? And guess what? That extra 2%, right? I'm going to get you more than that because we're going to have competition. So I think that it may not be as it may not have as many effects as we think.
Right.
Obviously, a lot of conversation. It will impact things because the seller in a market like today where there's no inventory, guess what? Sellers are getting away with appraisal gaps. Sellers are getting away with inspections, right? Waiving inspections and all these kinds of things. So in some cases, they're going to get away with, I'm not paying for the buyer's agent.
Right.
Right. But think about it. If you were to sell your house, or you or me, nothing was really going to change, because when you're listing a house, you're telling the seller, here, okay, you're going to pay 4%, you're going to pay 5%, and out of that 4 or 5%, we're going to give the buyer's agent half of that, so 2.5%. And that's never going to change, like you said. And that's actually going to benefit. And I always tell the seller, that's going to benefit you, because now you open it up to so many other agents out there.
Yep.
I always get a lot from the sellers where, hey, what if we don't have to pay a buyer's agent and you keep the commission all to yourself, even at the 4% or the 5%? And I tell them flat out, no. I mean, you want to put it out there.
Yeah.
It's going to benefit you.
And you have to break it down to a seller. Just think about it. All right, I'm selling my house. I got to move somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So now, if I refuse to not pay the buyer's agent and I'm selling a $500,000 house and I don't want to pay that 2%, but I'm going to go upgrade my quality of my life and I'm going to buy $1 million house, but now I got to pay 2% on the $1 million for my buyer's agent,
right?
I'm SOL.
Yeah.
So in the end, right, it's almost like, okay, well, if you don't pay for it now, you're gonna pay for it later.
Either way,
right. And the whole thing about real estate, realtors and mortgage people, it's all about relationships.
Yep.
So now, if all of a sudden, you're not taking a buyer's agent anymore, say you had a relative that's looking for a house, you're a buyer's agent, right? Now you're going to tell them, hey, they're not paying me anything. I can't show you the house. You got to go direct to that agent. Well, I don't know that agent.
Yep.
How can I even trust that agent?
Right.
Yep. Well, that's why when the NAR settlement came out, I don't know if you pay attention to the Zillow stock. It dropped.
It dumped the first day. It went down like 13%.
Because it's gonna it impacts their business model.
Right. Of course.
Because what happens is that they're selling you a lead, realtors picking up the lead, and they're meeting somebody they don't know for the first time. So now, if I gotta pay you. Like, am I really going to pay you just from one time meeting you?
Right.
Or am I going to go with people that are trusted and I'm going to do my research and whatnot? That's another big commitment.
Right. And now, speaking about Zillow, like you said, okay, all of a sudden a lot of people don't notice, but when you click on, I want to look at that house, it doesn't go to the listing agent. Yeah. It goes to the people that pay Zillow for that zip code, and they click on there. Half of the time when you call that agent, they have, because a lot of buyers tell me, hey, I just clicked on it and somebody called. They know nothing about the house. Okay. Right. Now, all of a sudden, that agent goes, you meet that agent, and they're going to show you that house. And that agent comes out with a piece of paper. Here, you got to sign this before I can even go 100%. Bring you inside that house. Well, wait a minute. What am I signing? Yeah. I got to pay. Who are you? I got to pay you 2% or whatever. And now, as a buyer, you'll be scratching your head. Correct. Why should I sign that?
Correct. Well, and part of the settlement too is, I was reading this morning on shout out to Housing Wire. They had a good article. Was that the Department of Justice now is stepping in, or not stepping in, but reviewing the settlement, right? Because the law or the settlement just states that you can't as a seller give out commission to a buyer on the MLS. But you could do it on the realtor's personal website, whatever. Yeah. And of course, the Department of Justice now is reviewing it and saying, well, now we don't know if we're comfortable with that. And so the point in all this is, and remember, a judge has not even signed off on this settlement yet, by the way. So, I mean, just guessing, but by now until the summer, I think you're going to see a little bit of a different variation of this lawsuit.
Yeah. There's got to be.
Yeah.
Now, think about this, right? A lot of realtors out there. A lot of realtors are good quality realtors. A lot of realtors, people sometimes say they're like car salesmen. And I'm not putting car salesmen down. But think about this. All of a sudden, okay, here, you got to sign this. You're paying me 3% for me to show you that house, right? And the person signs it. You got $1 million home, $1.5 million. People might have the money. They can pay you. Yeah. All of a sudden, the realtor goes, okay, has them paying them a commission as a buyer's agent. The selling agent now says, yeah, we're giving a buyer's agent 2.5% or 3%. Now, how does that going to work? Right. Now, this guy's going to make 6% or 5% because he's getting it from the buyer, he's getting it from the sellers. Yeah. That's why I look at it and I'm saying to myself, how could it work? Yeah. Because now you're going to get it from two different people. Is that going to be allowed? We don't know.
Nobody knows.
Nobody
knows. Don't know. Yeah, we're going to wait. I think the judge is going to have this by July, I think it is. And we'll see. And we'll see, and that's just the thing that regardless, there's a lot of chatter. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of fear. Right. This market has been erratic.
Yes.
All year.
Right.
And now this is something else. Right. So I think the industry is going through a little bit of a tough patch right now.
It's a transition too in the industry right now. So
because you always get a lot of questions from sellers and buyers and
Right.
Now picture you have a VA buyer, okay, that's got no money down.
Right.
Zero.
Yeah.
How are you going to explain to him here, you're going to buy a $500,000 house with no money down, but I need you now to pay me 2%, so you got to give me $10K.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So that's one of the positions that NARB has talked about is is, you know, who are you? How many people are you alienating?
Yes.
Right. And here's the thing. Even before this NAR settlement, you know, I help a lot of FHA buyers, right? People that need concessions, 3.5%. We got to even do down payment assistance.
Yep. DPAs.
So what happens is that, right? I spent a lot of time educating for a while. A seller didn't even want to touch an FHA loan.
Yes.
And it wasn't because, you know, it wasn't because they really understood it. It was because they're like, oh, these people are either they don't have the money, right? They have bad credit, and sometimes an FHA loan is better than a conventional
VA as well.
I say it all the time.
So, but it's just educating. But that's why I think, and we're seeing this already, where a lot of people aren't renewing their licenses, right? Both in the real estate and the mortgage industry.
Mortgage. The mortgage industry lost, I think, the past year, like over 100,000 licenses. Yeah.
Licenses.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the good thing is that we have these, you know, bottom feeders, right, exiting the industry. And listen, we have to get better. We have to join organizations like NAREP and you know, to just continue sharpening our tools so we can show the value, right? Because, you know, I was listening to Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah has a podcast, right? And I was walking my dogs and listening to him, and he was actually happy about the NAR settlement because he was like, oh, you know, I've been traveling the world for the last year. Now I want to buy a house. Thank God I don't have to pay, right? And I was like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Misinformation.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that you have somebody listening to millions of people listening to a podcast that has this misinformation
out there.
And we have to work twice as hard to just say, no, let's reel it back in.
I think you always have to like remember is that like, you know, people that are on TV even, like especially like I'm not going to say which organization, but a couple years ago I was doing a mortgage for someone who works at a financial network, and it was an adjustable rate mortgage, right? And we're at the closing table, and this person did not understand what an adjustable rate mortgage was, right? Even though we explained it, like her husband knew it, but like this person was on TV, you know, like on financial network,
like pushing it.
Like not even just like you would think they're an expert because they're on TV, right? Or they're on the news. And to that point, like you're listening to that podcast, and this is someone who's famous, right? And he's like, "Oh no, thank God!" On the Like, so like I think like the lesson out of in life is do your own research, do your own investigating, and come up with your own determination,
right? And follow people that really know what they're talking about,
or listen to Vino with Vito.
There you go, and subscribe.
So let's focus back on NAREP now. So let's just recap. So you were vice president last year. This year you're the president of the North Jersey chapter. How many chapters are in New Jersey? 4? 3?
So there's North Jersey, South Jersey, and Union Essex right now.
That's right. So there's 3
chapters. Yeah.
So I happened to be in D.C. last week when these guys won. It was amazing. We were in a huge ballroom, and it was against 4 other branches.
Yeah, 4
of the chapters. Sorry, and. I mean, I have it on video. I posted it on my social media. I mean, it was wild. Like these guys, you know, these guys did an amazing job. So now, you know, you're at the helm of this awesome group, right? What are your plans for the North Jersey chapter this year? What do you want to accomplish, and the board too? Because it's not a one man or one woman shop. I mean, this is a collaborative team. It's an awesome team.
Great question. Yeah, and just I want to preface it by saying that, you know, like how do we win chapter of the year? Like, what is it that our chapter does? Well, we have to put on 4 events a year, right, for the community.
Yep.
You know, we had a gala, you know, last month in Liberty House, sold out 350 people. We could have had 500 people. If
we were busting out of the chimney. Yeah, there were so many people there.
I wasn't invited, but maybe the next one I'll be invited.
The next one.
Great.
Yes.
You know, so you know, we had, you know, Senator Troy Singleton spoke, and we had Senate Majority Leader Teresa Rui speak, and you know, we really wanted to make it start off.
They both killed it, by the way.
They both did a really nice job.
Yep.
And then we have 3 other events. Our next one we're really happy about on June 6th, and we're finalizing hopefully today in Overpeck Park in Bergen County. We're going to do an outdoor wellness event. So we have something called the NAREP 10. We talk about not only being financially fit, right, being top percent in the industry, because we want to make sure that we're around other professionals that are doing the things that we want to achieve, that we want to get to. So we're learning from them.
Yep.
But we have to be mentally and physically fit, right?
Yes.
So it's going to be an outdoor event. We're going to have Zumba. We're having a sunset yoga. We have a virtual self-defense class. I might have a CrossFitter, an MMA fighter do a couple things out there too. So the fact is that we're bringing the community together, right? And we're teaching them about you know, NAR, right? About like the things that are relevant.
Financial
education.
Yep.
What programs, like, you know, guaranteed rate, like what programs do you have that's going to specifically help the Latino community? So the thing is that we want to make sure that we're educating our community. And we have 4 of those events. obviously, you know, how we measure success is, you know, okay, what is attendance, right, in these events? What is your membership growing? Because in the end, if membership grows, that means that we're providing value to members.
And you're doing something right for everybody.
Doing something right for something.
And somebody's going to say, here, I joined this. You should join it because of, you know.
Correct. Yep. And you know, and we're not profit, but there's a cost of putting on these events. So then we get corporate sponsorships and those kinds of things. So like if we are operating in the black and we're growing, right, from the amount of membership, like we're doing something right. You know, also there's a government affairs leg to our community, right? Like, are we tied into the community? Because we have to make sure that we are, you know, one of our things is really policy. So are we also impacting policy or establishing those relationships within the community? So those are all things that they look at. And I'm so grateful that as vice president last year, I saw what worked. Right, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right. So we're gonna continue doing the same things that we worked, and then we're gonna go ahead and fix the things that didn't, and just continue adding layers. So one of the things that, you know, one of your questions is how am I gonna impact it? Well, I think it's all through membership, right? You know, if we have, you know, we had 300 members when we first met in December. We're at 400 members now, and we want to have 500 to 600 members at the end of the year. And if we have a strong membership, guess what? Every time we have an event, they're gonna come out. Right. If Vino with Vito wants to go out and say, I want a booth at one of these events, guess what? Hey, there's going to be 200 to 300 people there all the time. So the fact of the matter is that people are going to say, when there's strong membership, right, there's going to be an ROI, because anybody that's living and working in that community is going to say, hey, this is another organization that I could be part of that's going to help grow my business. So we're just trying to grow membership, which we're doing a nice job so far. Right. We're trying to put on some good, profitable, events, which we already did a great job with our gala. And just generate excitement, and that's what it's about. And I think more so than those measurables, and I've led before the mortgage industry. I used to lead large teams and 300-400 people at a clip, and there's a lot of intangibles, right, that you can only look at from the culture. And I think that culture is what we're really trying to instill, where there's a succession of leaders that are going to continue to take it to the next level. I can come in and just by sheer, strength and just working hard, right, we can do well. But how am I teaching the people how am I teaching you that you could be the president of our chapter in the future?
Now my Spanish isn't good enough though.
I only remember Spanish when I was a kid, but
Vito. The problem is, right. So Vito and I are first generation. Actually Vito was born in Italy.
I was born in Italy.
I was
part of Italy were you born in?
Montes Caglioso.
It's like on the heel.
Near Matera, southern Italy. Near Bari.
So we're he's. I'm first generation. He was born in Italy, and it's funny. Like we had this talk about this like the other day or the other show about like education, right? For certain communities and like Hispanic community, Indian community, whatever, right? So like, can you talk a little bit about like how the group educates? Like how are you, like what are you doing? Like how is the group educating? How is it different than like a board of realtors, like or whatever?
I think for example, like we having this wellness event, and we are bringing in a wellness coach, right? We're talking about like all these other things. We're bringing in some top 250 NAREP members. Which top 250, what it is, Vito? It's top 250 realtors and mortgage originators across the country that's part of the NAREP organization. So they come in and they speak sometimes as far as, hey, this is how I grew my business. So we're using our network, but we talk about what's in the now, right? So like on August 8th, we're having a business rally. And we're already discussing, hey, who do we want to listen to? Who do we want to hear from? Do we need to bring somebody to talk about the NAR, right? Because guess what? It's going to be the month after the ruling.
That's hopefully or not. Right.
So hey, let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about, I remember
down payment assistance. Huge.
Right?
Like there's so many and there's so many misconceptions about down payment assistance. Like, oh, you got to, be in dire straits in that. Like, no, in New Jersey, like if you make under whatever number, 140,000, let's just say is the cutoff. Like, you could, you don't have to be in dire straits to get $15,000 or $22,000 from the state of New Jersey to buy a house.
And I'll tell you what I've been noticing a lot lately too is like, say you take a list. I just got a listing in Union County. Okay. I'm getting mortgage reps, banks sending me flyers with about down payment assistance, lower mortgage rates, you know, this, and they're talking about everything. Can you put these flyers out at your open house? Can you do this? Can you do that? And I'm like, wow. It's either they're working harder or they just want everybody to know, you know, what's going on out there.
I think it's both.
I was going to say the same thing. I think it's both because of the limited inventory. You know, it's really hurt, you know, the mortgage business and it's hurt the realtor business too. So everybody's got to find the next best way to do business here.
Listen, we're measuring our success right now in terms of activity, not necessarily volume, right? Because everybody has a decrease in volume, and those that don't, you know, hats off to you, and those are the people that we want to hear from. Right. But just even going back to just education, we had, you know, Barry Habib has been affiliated, and Barry Habib is great. And
he's awesome.
I don't know her. He announced it today, so we're praying for you, Barry.
Yeah, definitely.
But, you know, we had Megan Anderson, and she came and she spoke at one of our events. So it's about like what's going on. We had Troy Singleton come back and hey, what is the state doing to help first time buyers? What programs are we having? So it's just continuing educating. But yeah, going back, listen, I think I tell my team this, it's about activity, right? And we got to be consistent, even though the results are a little erratic, right? They're a little erratic, right? But we have to know, okay, what are we doing every single day? How many people are we touching base? Are we getting better? Are we educating ourselves? Right? So we have to
always improving.
Always improving.
Right. So, you always got to keep going out there and saying, hey, how can I do more business? How can I pick up more business? You always get agents, you know, everywhere, you know, not just my office, all the other offices. Hey, how did you get that customer? How did you get that listing? How did you get that buyer? Well, you know what? If you're just first starting out, it's going to be a little difficult. I've been doing this over 30 years. I mean, I just picked up another customer listing that, you know, I got from a referral from another listing that I had. Hey, you got to call Vito. He really helped me out, and that's how the business is. It's referral.
Any business.
If you do right by the customer, you're always gonna get that business. So.
And you always do what's right. Right. And now the good thing is that you can leverage technology and some of these tools to always be on top of mind, which you know, I think you couple that, you're gonna gain that conversion a little bit more. But I'm interested to hear from you, Vito. So you've been doing it for 30 years.
He used to do it for the money.
30 plus years. I used to do it for the money, but
after the heart attack.
No heart attack.
We consider you what's called an OG, right, in this game. All right. So what do you think about this market that we're in? Because you've seen a lot of it. You've seen a lot of different markets.
I've seen the ups, I've seen the downs, I've seen everything.
Wait, before you answer that, do you know what an OG is?
Can you explain to me what an OG is? Of course I know an OG. But the way the market is now, I'll be totally honest with you. Years ago, my forte is negotiating, okay? I love negotiating and all that. But now, you get a house, has a listing, you go put an offer, it's like you write the offer, here you go, and you pray for the best. 50 grand over, 100 grand over, or whatever.
It's not balanced.
It's not balanced at all. It's not and you have new agents that might get lucky and get a listing or whatever and think who the hell they are because they have that listing and, you know, they got 10 offers, 15 offers, have no clue what they're doing. Okay? But now, as a seasoned agent, you know what? You have a listing. You have all these realtors calling you. I still pick up the phone. I still call every agent back. If I have 10, 15, 20 offers on my property that I have listed, I'll call every agent back. And every agent...
You don't text them?
I don't text them.
I'll
call them.
Wow.
I'll call them. And I'll say, hey... you didn't get it, or hey, you got it. If you didn't get it, they'll ask me questions. Hey, why? How many offers? Where was I? Because I want to help my buyer out, so they know for the next one.
The good ones will ask that.
Right. The other ones will be like, oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, correct.
But that's the way to do business because think about it. This market can't be like this all the time.
Right.
It's gonna change, and what's gonna happen when it changes? You know, you're going to remember those agents that, ditched you or didn't call you back or wouldn't answer,
And you do remember.
And you do remember.
Oh, yeah.
That's one thing I do. And everybody out there, I do remember.
Yeah.
But but it's crazy. It's a crazy market that we're in now.
Yeah.
I mean, you have people knocking on doors, like buyers knocking on people's doors. Hey, do you want to sell without their agent?
Yeah.
You have here. I'll give you one example, and I would never do this. Someone passes away, right? What's the first thing? A lot of agents will go out there, knock on the door. Hey, you're going to sell the house, whatever. Come on, somebody just passed away.
There's no taste. There's no taste.
There's no taste at all. I saw someone the other day, okay? They're cleaning out their house. The house is being cleaned out. They have a clean out company there and everything.
Yeah.
And I knew, the person passed away, never went up to him, never said anything. Happened to be walking by, she's out, and, started a conversation. Hey, how you doing? Oh, I see you're up here from Florida, whatever. And we're talking. And she goes, yeah, her mom passed away. They're cleaning the house out. I go, oh, okay. I said, you know what? I'm just want to let you know, I happen to be a licensed realtor, but I'm just throwing that out there to you. I'm sorry for your loss. And she goes, you know what? At least you were kind.
Yeah.
You're a kind person. She
Yeah.
goes, people saw my mom leaving in an ambulance. In an ambulance.
Wow.
And we're writing notes
Insane.
and calling her to sell her house.
Jeez.
Meanwhile, she already had sold to somebody, whoever called her and knocked on the door. But could you imagine that?
Yeah.
As a realtor, how do you sleep at night? You see somebody being taken away in an ambulance and you go write a note or knock on the door, you're going to sell the house?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. That's
crazy.
That's temporary satisfaction,
Right.
And that's the thing. I mean, the fact that you've been doing this for 30 years. And how long have you been doing this now?
25.
25, man.
Yeah.
So you guys are
Long
both
time.
OGs.
Yeah, see that?
So
Do you know what OG
I
means?
guess you know what OG is.
but I think that's what perseveres, right?
Yep.
Is being kind to other people and being professional. And I think that we're gonna see those people that didn't want to help their next buyer and ask those questions, they're gonna disappear.
Totally.
Right now, the cool thing is that organizations like a NAREP, right? Because even if you're a realtor, you say, okay, well, all right, not only am I getting educated, it's good to know who's who.
Yeah.
It's good to know when I'm calling somebody, I met him at an event.
Absolutely.
And can have a conversation. It goes a long way.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's so important. But, I also want to just talk about the, because we could talk about this all day. I know we don't have it. But as far as what's going on right now, it's been a long time coming, right? With inventory the way it is, right? So, there's a crazy stat that, it just continues sticks on me that since the 1950s, there's been an average of between 20 to 22 million homes built every decade. So let's call it 2 million homes a year built.
Yep.
Well, between 2010 and 2020, the last recorded decade, only 5.8 million homes built.
Yeah.
So you had a 75% reduction in a decade.
They're not building.
Where are those houses coming from now? Right?
Yeah.
And we have the millennials that are now 40 years old that they're buying property, right? They're the second biggest generation after the baby boomers.
Yep.
Where are they going? Right, so the fact that
you have to reimagine everything. We talked about this all the time.
Yeah,
You have to reimagine cities. You have to get these empty warehouses, these empty, build them into townhouses, developments,
they're
condos.
building a lot of,
and it's gonna take years.
Of course.
This is not an overnight solution.
No, this is a generational fix.
Yeah.
There's a housing shortage in New Jersey. It's a generational fix.
Yeah, all across the country.
Across,
everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, even in my town, talking to people, hey, Vito, someone knocked on my door and offered me $1.25 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm looking at him. I go, what'd you say? He
Yeah.
goes, nah, can't go anywhere. I got my kids, my grandkids.
Somebody knocks on my door, offers me $1.25 million. I'll go rent.
I go to him, but I go to him. I said the same thing. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I said, are you kidding me?
There's a lot of
right
different
now?
things. I mean, where did you buy? How much equity did you have? Can you rent for a year? Can you take that money? But there's a lot of different things, right?
A lot of
about
different
educating.
scenarios.
A lot of scenarios, but right, I think we have to continue coming up with solutions. So I think in one of our conventions, the president of the National Builders Association was there. Talking about the cost of building a house, is through the roof because of compliance issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if things were a little bit more deregulated, right, then it'll be a little easier. It'll be more. Right now, builders,
Especially in New Jersey.
builders are building luxury homes and rental units.
Right.
Where's the middle class?
Yeah.
They're not building houses
because it
for the
becomes so
middle class
burdensome with like getting permits and
Yes.
and each individual town's regulation that almost is not
yeah.
that's not profitable for the medium sized builder. Listen, you always get these guys Lennar and all these guys.
Yeah.
They're always going to build. They're but like the
They're not
average
building in Jersey.
medium sized medium sized builder.
Forget about
it's
it.
gonna be tough.
Of course. I know a builder, back during COVID, okay, they were going to build 3 houses, okay? So they decide to put them on the market, right? So they get an offer. Yeah. Okay, sounds good. We'll take that offer. Perfect. Yeah. Now COVID hits. You can't build. They had all the prices laid out for lumber and all the material. So all of a sudden, COVID hits. They can't start building or whatever. Now they're going to start building. Price of lumber tripled.
Tripled.
Yeah. That was just lumber. Then you got windows, then you got doors. And
absolutely.
So now you
Copper.
look back and you're saying, what the hell? Instead of making X, now we might not even be making anything at all.
Yeah.
It's
right.
I like studying these subgroups, right? Like these tiny homes and these manufactured homes and even 3D printed homes. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
I think that they built a few hundred in Virginia last year and in Texas. Thing is that it's still relatively high cost.
Right.
But it's going to take those kinds of things, right? And it's going to take a while for the cost to be reduced and the speed to increase.
Yes.
But, I don't even know if my kids are going to be able to afford a house, quite honestly.
Oh, well, I mean, you have to remember, too, though, is innovation comes quick, right?
Yeah.
Like, look at, even in the 90s and 2000s, like, when the internet revolution started, right? It brought down the cost of a lot of things. So a lot of the problems that we're in, that are in the world today and society today could be cured with technology. And there could be an innovation right around the corner that we don't know about yet. So it's so hard to predict that.
Yeah.
Like, and I know, even the same thing, talk about our kids, I worry about it too. But interesting on that point about kids. So as impressive as this guy is, he also has another personality. Okay. He is, you have 2 kids?
2 kids.
Two kids. Happy birthday to your son today.
Thank you.
How old?
17 years old.
17.
What's your son's
happy
name?
birthday, Jaden.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday, Jaden. And then Angelise.
Angelise, yep.
Angelise is a aspiring or a future music star. I don't know. Have you? I have to send you his daughter's Instagram page.
Yeah.
Amazing voice. So he's her dadager. What is it? Dadager.
Dadager. Yeah.
So you want to plug your daughter a little bit?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about her.
Wait. But
Absolutely.
before you plug your daughter, if she does, Dave told me earlier, she's aspiring, she's starring and all that. I just want to know one thing. If she does become a big star, I want her on the show.
Yes.
Listen,
All right?
anytime.
Yes.
Anytime,
All
right? And
Get him to sign now.
Get him to sign now.
Anytime.
I'm joking.
And no, she would love to do it, right? I think Angelise, has been in entertainment for 12. She's gonna be 21 this month. But she's always been in the arts, and she's one of the people that always knew what she wanted to do from when she was small, right? Because kids just change their mind. All the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I was so she was a stage. My wife was a stage mom, right? Driving her to New York City for auditions and whatnot, and then during COVID, right, all that shut down. There was no auditions. Everything shut down, right? So she pivoted and started writing music, and she attended the Clive Davis Recorded Music Academy, or the Clive Davis School of Music.
Wow.
In NYU in Brooklyn.
Yep.
Right during COVID, and then she attended a few classes, and then everything was virtual. But then she wrote her first song there with somebody. Her first song, she recorded it through her iPhone and through voice notes. And then
New way of doing business,
Oh
man.
my
It's crazy.
gosh.
so she put it out there, and I'm like, you know what? That's pretty decent. The fact that it's not done professionally. Let's go to a professional studio. She went, and then I started posting things and her music, and then I'm blessed that I have a great network, and I use NARAP actually also through for my daughter, and they've been great. But I'm also I started this Latin fraternity. They've been around since 1975. They started here in King College in Union. But I was a founding brother in University of Miami, right? So I started the chapter out there, and some of my fraternity brothers that that are also some of our clients. Just hey, I'm a councilman in Carteret, and we're doing Latin Fest. Does your daughter want to perform? And I was like, hell yeah, right? And she was like, can she do half an hour? And I was like, hell yeah. She couldn't do half an hour at that point, right? But we used to reverse engineer.
Just go.
Right,
we were like, hey, we gotta release more music.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah.
And her first performance was in front of 15,000 people, right?
And how old was she at this time?
This was 2 or 3 years ago. She was
16,
18,
17.
No, she's gonna be 21. She was 18 or so.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's just and I took over the music side. So my wife still manages her commercial. Like she's driving to Philly next week. She has a gig with Five Below, right? And she's still doing some of these gigs in entertainment. But the music industry is grimy, right? It's tough.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure that I protect her. So she has about 12 or 13 singles out. We've worked with a bunch of different producers. She's had a ton of performances. She's performing again in New York next month. She's signed to a distribution deal with United Masters, which is one of the bigger distributors. And we're independent right now, but like we're just grinding, right? Like
now, didn't she just she's met with or performed with Timberland? Is that correct? Recently,
she met well,
she met with him.
Yeah,
I saw a post on social media.
So we're out. As the kids say, we're outside, man. So she was in Austin last month performing South by Southwest. I was with her last year doing the same thing. She was at an event in Miami. She was one of her singles was at a songwriting camp, and she met Timberland and J Balvin and Khaled, and so we have some people looking at her right now.
Yeah.
Right? I have a mentor of mine, Ray Daniels, has a really big music podcast out in Atlanta. He's one of the probably premier like hip hop music podcasters, and his artist just won Artist of the Year in the Grammys, right? Like this is artist. So this guy's really well known, and he's a mentor of mine. Shout out to Ray Daniels and the God Squad, and he was like, Eric, I love her music, and she just started doing some Latin stuff. Right?
That's what I was going to ask. Is she doing Latin or just?
So she started R&B and pop, and she was born here in English, and honestly, Spanish is her second language, right? But we know that the Latin market is hot right now, right? With artists like Bad Bunny and Karol G. So we want to make sure we tap into that. So her last couple singles have been Spanish infused, and we had a music video that we self-produced. We rented out a warehouse in Brooklyn. Went out there.
Really?
We had the dancers out, and it was myself, my wife, and my daughter. We did everything right.
That's
so
awesome.
she has 2 music videos out.
Wow.
And she
it's no joke. I told you, Vic.
No joke.
Yeah, and then right now, so Ray Daniels was great, and he was like, hey, Eric, listen, I think she's great, she's dope. He saw her performing in South by Southwest. He put on a show, and he goes, you know what? Like I know I can help you, but I think because the Spanish lane isn't really my lane. So we're talking to Pitbull's team. So Pitbull, the Mr. Worldwide.
Oh, come on.
So yeah.
Listen, I look like him a little bit.
Yeah, you do.
Look at your head there. Of course, you look like Pitbull.
We're just talking, and yesterday I previewed one of her new singles on a live, and everybody she's getting some notoriety. So yeah, man, I'm trying to protect her. I'm smart enough to know that I am not the person that's going to take it to the next level, but I want to make sure that I'm there to protect her when she does.
Protect her to get to the next level. No, that's great.
Cool, right?
Oh,
yeah.
That's
she can sing. She can sing, man. I'll send you the handle.
Yeah,
but she sang at the event in Liberties,
And NAREP, and this is the great thing about NAREP is that this is obviously a trade organization, is real estate, but it's also it's gaining popularity and strength, right, in its numbers. And in San Diego a couple years ago, Barack Obama was the keynote speaker, right?
Yeah.
We're intertwined with athletes and musicians and and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is that they've provided Angelise with some opportunities. She's performed in Miami. She's performed here in New York. She's met some cool people because of it, right? So the cool thing is that we're also leveraging the power of NAREP's community to help elevate her. She just made the magazine, right, that NAREP puts out.
Yeah.
So it's cool that they're giving her the opportunities. But yeah, man, she's a triple threat. When my elevated pitch of somebody is, listen, she's a J-Lo 2.0.
Yeah.
Right? She can sing, dance, and act.
Yep.
Right? So she's not just a one-trick pony, and she loves all of it.
Now tell us the truth. Who really runs the operation, you or your wife?
So from the music side, it's me.
Somebody's in trouble.
My wife, listen. My wife manages Everything. Like, so my wife manages, like, she's driving her to Philly. She's doing the things that she works for the talent agency that she signed with in New York City. And then she helps her with like her costume, like her dress and all that stuff. But like I'm the one dealing with like contracts and because I gotta make sure that I'm a little, I'm a big teddy bear, but sometimes you gotta act like,
of course.
Oh yeah.
You gotta be like,
Well, and you got a finance background.
Yeah,
you went to Miami, right?
University
This
of
guy's a
Miami,
hurricane.
yeah.
He's went to
Yeah.
listen. He's got the big
baby.
education.
There you go.
Dude. Listen, he's got it.
My son-in-law likes the Miami Dolphins, so TJ, look, he went to Miami.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's awesome, man. Listen,
That's great.
So where did you go to school? Where did you go to school?
I went local, Montclair.
Yeah. Well, I went to college with the 2001 national champs, which is probably the best draft class of all time. I mean, there was a lot of you had Gainesville, like the Gators in Alabama, but that's the year that we have Frank Gore, Sonoris Moss, like Jeremy Shockey.
Yeah, Frank Gore's a beast.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Oh my God, man.
So we had
run through that wall.
Yeah. So that was it was a fun time. Yeah.
Well, that's why when we were in DC, right? Like, we were staying at the hotel, and it was during March Madness ACC tournament. Now it makes sense why you were just like, because all the players for the ACC tournament, it was right before the big tournament, were staying at the hotel that we were staying at.
Yeah.
And that's why it makes sense you saw the Miami.
The Ibis, man.
You're great. Now it makes all sense. But
Do you guys want to know where I went to college?
Where'd you go to college?
American School of Business. I didn't go to
American
college.
School of Business. That's where you got your license.
That's where I got my license for real estate.
On another show.
Well, you went to the School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Patterson.
Oh, the School of Hard Knocks, for
There
sure.
you go.
Well, I know we're wrapping up, but another time I'll tell you the story about how Vito's family sold the donkey in Italy.
Was a mule.
To come to America. True story.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like to hear more about
Yeah.
that.
It was a
That's
mule.
a pretty badass story.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Look at that. The wine, you know what? The wine is done. But Eric, I just want to say, wow. I really enjoyed this episode. I want everybody out there to know, look, we talk about different things. And I'm going to be honest. You know what? A lot of times people say, hey, with the subscribers, people are watching. If you can subscribe. But I get a lot of people that always say to me, hey, I really like that episode. I didn't know about this. I didn't know about that. You're very, very educational. And people are out there, learning different things and, really taking it in. And I enjoy doing this. Dave enjoys doing this. I'm really happy that you came here. And now we know about NARIP. And we know about your daughter that's up and coming, and hopefully we'll get her on here. Or her first concert. Maybe Dave and I can be in the front row there. Backstage.
Listen, if we know the manager, I'm going backstage.
We're going backstage again. And what is your daughter's name again, so we can put it out there?
Yeah. So you guys can follow her. Is at Angelise Mariah. So it's Angel YSE Mariah, like Mariah Carey. Angelise Mariah is her tag.
Oh, beautiful.
Cool.
And I'm very happy you came, Eric. Thank you so much. And, hopefully everybody gets a lot out of this. And now that the wine is done, now, Dave, should we say it in Spanish or I can't say it?
So what we'll do is we'll see how quick Eric is in Spanish.
Okay.
So he has a closing that he says in every show. So let's see if he can do it. Ready? We'll do it like one sentence at a time.
One day.
Un día.
And that day will come.
Y ese día vas a llegar.
When you need to buy or sell a house.
Cuando tú quieres comprar o vender una casa.
And when that day does come.
Y cuando ese día llegas.
You will call Vito Contusi.
Tú vas a llamar a Vito Contusi.
The godfather.
El padrino.
Of Northern New Jersey.
De Norte Nueva Jersey.
Real estate.